Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. It is the end of the month, so we are on a fashion news wavelength and we're going to go ahead and get started. And make sure my microphone was on. First up, I've talked about this topic before and I think I also featured a screenshot of it, which is the reason why it made it onto the list today in my last month's fashion news, which would have been the one for October. But we're going into the holiday season, but even past that, just I just try to have this as a warning. I was going to say annual, but it's not really annual. I just want this in the back of your minds, guys, because this has happened to several people before. And like I said, if I have that video, I'll link it down. If I remember which video it was, I'll link it down below. But it has definitely happened to a few people in the handbag community. But this is when we're talking about why secondhand is not the only people that are at risk or places that are at risk for receiving bags that are not what they are. And I'm hesitant to say certain words, so that's why I'm trying to be careful with my words here. But I thought this article was interesting because the business of fashion also talked about it. It also was featured in an article that made it onto CNN's website earlier this year as well, where they talked about this woman who had purchased something, I want to say from Essence. All of this is alleged. Let me just start all right here. All of this is alleged. This is for entertainment purposes only. Make sure you check out the articles and do your own research. She bought this bag from the row, and this is more so when we're talking about the things that are infiltrating retail industries, retailers, which I don't know how they're going to get a handle on this, but they really have to do something about it. She purchased a bag, and she had already had a bag from the row, so she was able to instantly tell something was off about this bag. And after she compared the dust bag, she compared the feel of the leather, just certain factors, and it wasn't consistent with the item that she had purchased directly from the Row store. She went through the process of returning the bag, and I do believe she did receive her money back. But I was thinking, thankfully she already had something to go off of. What if you never purchased anything from this brand before? How do you know what you're getting is the thing? And you used to be comfortable with being able to buy something from a retailer and get what you're supposed to get. But there are so many ways that that can be a problem nowadays, and especially the way that they are making these bags and all products, clothes, it's just everything. But like I said, this is not the first time I've talked about this before, but I just want this in the back of you guys' mind because you have to figure out ways to protect yourself. One of those being that I don't know how you get around this part, but you do just keep this in mind, be careful, and just know that it can possibly happen to you where you're getting something that looks like it's supposed to be what it's supposed to be, but it's not actually what it's supposed to be. So just be careful about what you're getting. And yeah, we'll move on. Let me know if you personally know somebody who has had this experience before or if it's happened to you. I would love to hear that in the comments down below. Also, how did you fight this to get your money back? A little bit off of the luxury sphere, but we're talking about Bombas socks. And you're probably like, what? I feel like it's fashion and it's on my mind because I do need to purchase more socks. So maybe this is a selfish plug because I might be considering getting some socks from Bombas. But if you have not heard of Bombas socks, they are a sock company that has been around since 2013. It was founded by Randy Goldberg and David Heath in New York City. And I'm laughing at myself for talking about socks, but just hear me out here. They remind me of what we think of UGG for, but anyway, let me get into it. So they found that for people who are homeless, socks were the most requested item. And so their mission is when you buy a sock, you give a sock, they give a sock away to people who are homeless, which is a commendable thing. Are their socks inexpensive? Absolutely. Did I say that right? Are their socks inexpensive? They are not, is what I want to say. I was looking at a pack of 4 socks or 5 socks, and it was going to be about $50, which was going to be basically $10 a sock. So we're not talking about something that's inexpensive, but the fact that you're also giving back, you do have to factor that in too. And if you can fit in your budget, I think it's a great cause to go with. But they are they're expanding. So they're not just doing socks, they are also expanding into kind of the comfort zone, which is why I mentioned UGG. Because when I think about UGG, you think about their snuggly boots. But then after that, they have amazing rugs. Not rugs, robes. That starts with an R too. They have, and then they also have, what do you call it? They do make socks. They make blankets. I'm being interrupted. Hold on a second. Sorry, got interrupted. So I think about them, and I think about UGG as this like company who makes cozy things for your life. But I think Bombas is seeing an opportunity to do the same thing. And so they're making these like cozy slippers, things like that. And they are adding 6 items to their line. I didn't take good notes this time, rolling out these items in 6 months. So I think just something that, obviously people see the value in the quality of their items. They want to do good. I think this is a great way to help support, especially when we're talking about everything that's going on right now in the world and people are losing their jobs, unfortunately. Just, people need help, and this may be a way you may want to support. All right, moving on. All right, guys. Obviously, editing India is here. It's like about 7 a.m. on a Friday, and I was working on this video. I forgot to tell you guys about this when I was sending it over to my tablet to do my video editing. Anyway, Fashionphile. They are expanding into the UK market. They have purchased a UK based reseller called Lux Collective. This Lux Collective company shut down sometime earlier in 2025 and they were acquired. They purchased the intellectual property, customer database, and social media channels, which is just to think about where Fashionphile has come from, which I'm pretty sure Fashionphile started as an eBay store a long time ago and have expanded and grown their reputation to what it is today is just something to admire. And they are definitely one of the companies that are respected and trusted within the secondhand market luxury resale business. They Let's see. So the Lux Collective founders, sorry, I'm having to read from my phone, but Ben and Joe Gallagher, they will join Fashionphile to lead the new UK division, and it will be branded as Fashionphile Collective. And the future plans are they plan to launch a London flagship store, and that will be an authentication center as well as somewhere you can purchase. And that's what we got so far from my screenshot. Okay, so thank you. Back to the rest of the video. Let's talk about Diane Keaton. Announcement of her passing did happen in October, and I was going to do a post, but then I knew I had decided that I wanted to just do a little bit of a feature about her because of her contribution to kind of what we would say like personal style and how she's well known for her style. And I thought I'll feature her in fashion news. So that is why she's being mentioned now. She was in my favorite movie from when I was a child, which is Father of the Bride. It came out in 1991, and I literally just watched it this morning as well. But I love that movie. Comment down below if you've seen it. Let me know if you enjoyed that movie as well. And if you haven't, make sure you go check it out. It is on YouTube. I did search it. The music, I think, as far as like licensing goes, because it's not the official push out, somebody else pushed it out. So the music is off if you've seen the movie before. But the rest of the story is there. But Diane Keaton is described as the ultimate cool girl as far as when for menswear style. She defined, and this became her personal style, and you could see how in movies that she was in, photos that you see where it's red carpet or any type of publicity tours that she was doing, how her personal style has infiltrated into her characters. And I thought it was so cool to see that. And when I think back to movies that I saw, I was like, oh, okay, I can see how that is. But she does a great job of marrying the two together, where when you see her, you can see that style emanating. She did pass away at the age of 79, and I, well wishes to her family and anyone that has been lucky enough to come in contact with her. Now, most of the articles that I've read have mentioned this pivotal role that she played, which was called Annie Hall. And this was a role from the 70s. And in this role, she actually was allowed by the director to control her screen style. And the screen style that the costume designer for that movie that she was in was against it, but like I said, the director actually said, let her do this, and it just defined a whole style kind of influence that is personal to her, and pieces of her wardrobe from that movie and that role that she played was a mixture of her personal items. There were also pieces that came from Ralph Lauren, and then also some vintage items. So many accomplishments that this woman made. So not only did she define and her style was very distinct, unique to her, and you saw it through a lot of her characters. But not only that, as far as like on the fashion side, she actually expanded out into real estate development, which I think is amazing. I like to hear about how these different women are multifaceted and how they maybe started a career in one way, but they branched off into other things and grew. Also, she had just recently did a partnership with an eyewear company called Look Optic to come out with designs that were inspired by her Annie Hall look in her personal style. So that was in 2004. I was about to say 2024, which is the same thing. But anyway, 2024, because I can't get my words out. But I thought this is just, hopefully a little small tribute to Diane Keaton and hopefully sharing information with you all that maybe you did not know about Diane Keaton and how her career has grown and how she's allowed her personal interests as well as her personal style ring true throughout her life. We will finish with a topic. Well, unfortunately, it was behind the Vogue business paywall, and I don't have the Vogue level, business level membership. But first off, this jacket spoke volumes to me, but I thought it was interesting to see that what they're noticing is that kind of American style, American sportswear is influencing more of the Paris fashion houses and what they saw more on the runway. This is not the first time they've talked about American sportswear before, but traditionally, when you think about fashion, you think about European designers, let me say that, influence the rest of the world, but not the other way around, which I thought, okay, this is interesting, something to look into. American sportswear, as you're seeing on the screen, is kind of defined as a category that's categorized as relaxed, interchangeable. You have separates that are originally designed for both an athletic activity, casual day-to-day wear. It's known for its practical uses and easy to care for type of appeal. When I think about American sportswear, I think about Ralph Lauren. That's just like comes to the top of mind, right? The button down shirts, the polos, easy, the jeans, things like that. And obviously, it's kind of evolved over time, but still stayed the same in a lot of ways. And what I did notice when I was trying to do some more research, usually I can find another article that I don't have to pay for, but unfortunately with this situation, I could not. But I did see an article from 2017, which is also behind the paywall from New York Times, where they talked about American chic on the runway of Paris. So obviously we know that fashion is cyclical, so it does seem like there might be some influences. So maybe check that out and see what you're seeing. See if we're going to see more American sportswear style infiltrating the runways in the next couple of years. And now also, when I did see this, I did immediately think about Anne Klein. Reading this fashion book that I read last year, actually, she had talked about, it was actually a Robin Givhan book that she authored, and she talked about how Anne Klein was very an important influence in how the way that women dress today, and especially her influence around that time. And I also remember her talking about how it wasn't respected, the her influence, and how we have now suit separates. And this would not have been if it weren't for people like Anne Klein. It wasn't for people like Bonnie Cashin and Claire McCardle. So I wanted to just highlight that and give some props to Anne Klein and all the other women that I just mentioned, to actually give, basically highlight their influence on the way that we dress decades later, which is just to influence something of that nature and create a kind of new category or new way that people do things that are what we would consider before were traditional, I think is something to look forward to and appreciate. And that is it for fashion news. Make sure you leave your comments down below. Let me know if you have learned something new, because that is always a goal of mine, to share something different. And other articles and stories also that are off the beaten path of like your typical what we think about with fashion news, fashion trends. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.